Marcus and Malcolm Johnson were not your ordinary twins. At 28 years old, these young black men had already done something many people only dreamed of. They built a $1 million tech company from nothing, but their journey to success wasn't easy. Growing up in a small apartment in Atlanta with their hardworking single mother, the twins shared everything, including a tiny bedroom barely big enough for two beds. Their mother worked two jobs, as a nurse during the day and a cashier at night, to make sure her boys got a good education. Every night she would tell them, "Your minds are your tickets to freedom." The twins took these words to heart. In high school, while other kids played video games, Marcus and Malcolm spent their free time learning how to code on a second-hand laptop they bought from a thrift store. They were always the last ones to leave the school library, where they could use the free internet to watch coding tutorials on YouTube. Their hard work paid off when they both got scholarships to Georgia Tech. Living on campus was the first time they had their own space, but they still spent most of their time together, working on their big dream, creating an app that would help small business owners manage their finances better. In their tiny dorm room, they worked day and night on their idea. They ate cheap ramen noodles and took extra jobs at the campus coffee shop to save money for their business. Some nights, they only slept for 3 or 4 hours, but their determination never wavered. After graduation, while their classmates took high-paying jobs at big tech companies, Marcus and Malcolm took a bigger risk. They moved back home with their mother and turned their old bedroom into their first office. Their app, SmartBooks, started small, with just 5 local businesses using it. But those 5 businesses told 5 more, and soon word spread about the amazing app created by the Johnson twins. 3 years later, SmartBooks had over 100,000 users across the country. Small business owners loved how easy it was to use, and investors loved the twins' passion and innovation. Their company grew from just the two of them to a team of 50 people, mostly hired from their old neighborhood to give back to their community. Now, standing in front of their new office building in downtown Atlanta, Marcus and Malcolm couldn't help but smile. They had just made their biggest purchase together, a brand new Tesla Model S. It wasn't just any car. It was a beautiful metallic blue one with all the latest features. They chose this color because it reminded them of the blue ribbon they won in their first science fair. "Remember when we used to take the bus everywhere?" Malcolm asked his brother, running his hand along the car's smooth surface. Marcus laughed. "Yeah, and now look at us. Mom's going to cry when she sees this." They had surprised their mother that morning with a new house in a safe neighborhood, telling her she never had to work another day in her life. The Tesla was their gift to themselves, a symbol of how far they'd come from those days of sharing a worn-out laptop. As they stood there in their matching dark blue suits, they still liked to dress alike sometimes. Several employees waved to them on their way into the building. The twins had created a workplace where everyone felt like family, and their success meant success for the whole community. Malcolm pulled out the key fob, and the Tesla's lights flashed. "Want to take it for its first spin?" he asked. "You drive first," Marcus said with a smile. "You always had a better driving record than me anyway." What they didn't know was that this simple decision, who would drive first, would lead to an experience that would change not just their lives, but their entire community. Their new Tesla, a symbol of their success, was about to become part of a much bigger story about justice, prejudice, and the power of staying true to your principles. As Malcolm slid into the driver's seat and Marcus settled into the passenger side, they were simply two successful brothers enjoying the fruits of their hard work. They had no idea that in less than an hour, their day would take a turn that would test everything they believed in. The spring afternoon was perfect for a drive. Malcolm drove smoothly down Peachtree Road while Marcus played with the Tesla's fancy touchscreen, exploring all its features. They were heading to their mother's new house for Sunday dinner, a family tradition they never missed, no matter how busy they got. "Check this out," Marcus said, showing Malcolm how the car's screen displayed all the vehicles around them. "This thing's basically a computer on wheels." As they stopped at a red light, a police car pulled up behind them. Malcolm glanced in the rearview mirror and noticed the officer staring intently at their car. He had seen that look before, and a familiar knot formed in his stomach. "Heads up," Malcolm said quietly to his brother. "Cop behind us looks interested." Marcus nodded, already reaching for his phone. Their mother had taught them years ago, always be prepared, always record. Just as she predicted, the police car's lights started flashing as soon as the light turned green. Malcolm signaled and pulled over smoothly, positioning the car where the Tesla's built-in cameras had the best view. He placed both hands on the steering wheel while Marcus kept his hands visible on his lap, his phone now recording. Officer James Reeves approached the driver's side window, his hand resting on his gun. He was a tall man with cold blue eyes and a stern expression that suggested he'd already made up his mind about something. License and registration, Officer Reeves demanded, not bothering to explain why he'd pulled them over. "May I ask why we're being stopped, officer?" Malcolm asked politely, keeping his voice steady and professional, the same voice he used in business meetings. "Just hand over the documents," Officer Reeves snapped, his other hand now tapping impatiently on the car's roof. Malcolm slowly reached for his wallet, narrating his movements. "I'm reaching for my wallet in my back pocket to get my license." He had learned this procedure from their uncle, a retired police officer who had taught them how to handle traffic stops safely. Marcus already had the registration and insurance information pulled up on the Tesla's screen, while also angling his phone to capture everything. The car's own cameras were recording too, something Officer Reeves didn't seem to notice. As Malcolm handed over his license, he noticed Officer Reeves's eyebrows rise slightly. The officer looked at the license, then at Malcolm, then at the Tesla, as if the pieces didn't fit together in his mind. "Step out of the vehicle," Officer Reeves ordered suddenly. "May I ask why, sir?" Malcolm remained calm, though his heart was racing. "This vehicle matches the description of a stolen car reported this morning," Officer Reeves claimed, his hand gripping his gun tighter. Marcus spoke up for the first time, his voice clear and confident. "Officer, we have proof of ownership right here on the screen. We just purchased this car today from Tesla of Buckhead. We can call the dealership to confirm." Officer Reeves ignored Marcus completely. "I said, step out of the vehicle. Both of you, now." The twins shared a quick glance. Years of working together meant they could communicate without words. They knew their rights, but they also knew this situation could turn dangerous quickly if they didn't comply. "We're going to step out slowly," Malcolm announced clearly, making sure his phone was still recording. "But I want to state for the record that we do not consent to any searches, and we own this vehicle legally." As they stepped out, 2 more police cars pulled up, their lights flashing. A small crowd of onlookers had gathered on the sidewalk, some with their phones out, recording the scene. Officer Reeves ordered them to stand by the curb, then began searching their car without permission. The twins stood quietly, their phones still recording, watching as their brand-new Tesla, their symbol of success, was treated like stolen property. What Officer Reeves didn't realize was that every move he made was being recorded not just by phones, but by the Tesla's sophisticated camera system, and unknown to him, the footage was already uploading to the cloud, where it couldn't be deleted or tampered with. The situation was about to take a turn that would make Officer Reeves regret ever pulling them over. Officer Reeves circled the Tesla like a shark, his boots clicking against the pavement. The growing crowd of onlookers made him nervous, but he was too proud to back down now. He'd made up his mind that something was wrong with this situation, even though all the evidence said otherwise. "Pop the trunk," he ordered Marcus, who stood calmly by the curb. "Officer, we've shown you our registration and proof of purchase," Marcus replied evenly. "We don't consent to any searches." This seemed to make Officer Reeves angrier. His face turned red as he pulled out his radio. "Dispatch, I'm going to need a tow truck at my location. Possible stolen vehicle recovery." Malcolm stepped forward slightly, his lawyer's business card ready in his hand. "Sir, we'd like to contact our attorney. This is an illegal detention, and you have no probable cause." "Back up," Officer Reeves shouted, his hand jumping to his gun again. "I said back up." The crowd grew larger. Several people were live streaming now, and a local news van had just pulled up. The twins could see their Tesla's lights blinking, indicating that its security system was actively recording everything from multiple angles. One of the other officers on scene, a younger woman named Officer Chen, approached Reeves quietly. "Sir, I've run the plates and VIN. The vehicle was purchased legally this morning. There's no stolen vehicle report matching this description." But Officer Reeves wasn't listening. His pride and prejudice had taken over his judgment. He snatched the keys from Malcolm's hand and opened the driver's door. "I'm impounding this vehicle for further investigation," he announced, sliding into the driver's seat. The twins watched in disbelief as Officer Reeves started their car. The Tesla's screen lit up, its camera still recording, its GPS tracking system active. What Officer Reeves didn't know was that every Tesla came with an advanced security system that the owners could monitor from their phones. "Sir," Malcolm called out, his voice still steady despite his anger, "you're currently stealing a vehicle worth over $100,000 while being recorded by multiple witnesses and the car's own security system." Officer Chen tried again to intervene. "Officer Reeves, I don't think." "Stay out of this," Reeves snapped at her. "I'm the senior officer here, and I say this vehicle needs to be investigated." As Officer Reeves put the car in drive, Marcus quietly opened an app on his phone. The Tesla app showed them exactly where their car was going, and it was already sending alerts to their email about unauthorized access. The crowd watched in shock as Officer Reeves drove away in the Tesla, leaving the Johnson twins standing on the sidewalk. But unlike what he expected, the brothers weren't panicking. Instead, they were calmly making phone calls. First, they called their lawyer, who was already heading their way after seeing the live streams. Then they called Lieutenant Waters at Internal Affairs, a contact they'd made through their community work. Finally, they called their head of security at SmartBooks, who began downloading all the Tesla's security footage from the cloud. "He just made the biggest mistake of his career," Marcus said quietly to Malcolm. Malcolm nodded, watching the little dot on his phone that showed their Tesla turning onto a street it shouldn't be on. "He has no idea that every second is being recorded, does he?" The news crew was approaching them now, microphones ready. Officer Chen looked embarrassed and confused, while the other backup officer was frantically calling dispatch. What nobody knew yet was that Officer Reeves wasn't heading to the impound lot. The Tesla's GPS showed him driving toward the industrial district, far from any police station or official facility. Every turn he made was another piece of evidence. Every minute that passed was another nail in his career's coffin. In his arrogance and prejudice, Officer Reeves had just stolen the wrong car from the wrong people. In exactly 2 minutes, he would realize his mistake, but by then, it would be far too late. Inside their company's downtown office, Marcus and Malcolm sat with their lawyer, Sarah Chen, watching multiple screens. The largest monitor showed a live feed from their Tesla's cameras, while another displayed the car's GPS location. They had turned their modern conference room into a command center within minutes of arriving. "He's been driving for 20 minutes now," Malcolm said, pointing at the screen. "That's definitely not the route to any police station." The Tesla's interior camera showed Officer Reeves sweating, constantly checking his rearview mirror. He had turned off his body camera, but he couldn't turn off the Tesla's built-in recording system. Every nervous glance, every wrong turn was being documented. "Your car's security system is impressive," Sarah said, taking notes. "He's heading toward the old warehouse district. That's nowhere near any police facility." Marcus typed quickly on his laptop, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "I just sent copies of all the footage to Internal Affairs. Lieutenant Waters says they're mobilizing units now." The brothers had spent the last 20 minutes building an airtight case. Their Tesla app had captured everything: the exact route, Officer Reeves turning off his police radio, and even his frustrated attempts to disable the car's internet connection. Their office door opened, and Jessica Wong from Channel 5 News walked in with her camera crew. The twins had given her many exclusive stories about their tech company before, and now she would help them tell this story. "The live streams from the traffic stop are going viral," Jessica said, setting up for an interview. "People are furious. Your mother called the station. She's okay, right?" "We called her right away," Malcolm assured her. "She's safe at home with our security team." On the screen, they watched Officer Reeves pull into an empty parking lot behind an abandoned warehouse. The Tesla's cameras showed 3 other cars already waiting there, none of them police vehicles. "Got you," Marcus whispered, pressing record on his laptop. The Tesla's microphones picked up everything as Officer Reeves stepped out to meet the waiting men. "This is better than we expected," one of the men said on the recording. "Brand new Tesla, probably worth more than we usually get. The buyer will pay extra for this one." Jessica and her cameraman filmed the brothers' calm response to this revelation. While most people would be angry or scared, Marcus and Malcolm stayed focused, like they did when solving tough business problems. "Internal Affairs units are 3 minutes out," Sarah announced, hanging up her phone. "They've been tracking our GPS signal. State police are also on their way." Malcolm opened another app on his phone. "Watch this," he said with a slight smile. The Tesla's horn suddenly blared, making Officer Reeves and the other men jump in surprise on the security feed. "The car's security system has a few special features we added," Marcus explained to Jessica, who was capturing everything. "We can control it remotely, and we just activated the extra loud alarm system." On screen, Officer Reeves was panicking now. He tried to get back in the car, but Malcolm had already activated the Tesla's lockdown mode. The doors wouldn't open, and the windows had darkened automatically. "Your car has a lockdown mode?" Jessica asked, impressed. "We developed it ourselves," Marcus explained. "It's a prototype we're testing for our next business venture, advanced vehicle security systems." They watched as police cars began appearing on the security camera feeds surrounding the warehouse area. Officer Reeves stood frozen, realizing he was caught in a trap of his own making. "Lieutenant Waters wants to know if you'll testify," Sarah said, reading a text message. The twins shared a look before Malcolm answered. "We'll do more than testify. We'll make sure this never happens to anyone else again." Through the Tesla's cameras, they could see Officer Reeves raising his hands as internal affairs officers approached with their weapons drawn. His face showed the exact moment he realized that his badge wouldn't protect him from justice this time. The story was far from over, but the brothers had turned what could have been a tragedy into a powerful moment of accountability. Officer Reeves stood in the middle of a nightmare he had created for himself. Police cars surrounded the warehouse area, their lights painting the walls red and blue. The Tesla behind him was locked tight, its black windows hiding the advanced technology that had just caught him in the act. "Get on your knees. Hands where we can see them," Lieutenant Waters' voice boomed through a megaphone. The three men who had been waiting to buy the stolen Tesla were already face down on the ground, being handcuffed by state police officers. Back at SmartBook's headquarters, Marcus and Malcolm watched everything unfold on their screens. The Tesla's cameras showed different angles of the scene, like a professional TV production. Their lawyer, Sarah, was quickly organizing the evidence into folders on her laptop. "Look at this," Marcus said, rewinding one of the video clips. The footage showed Officer Reeves making a phone call right after leaving the traffic stop. They turned up the volume on the Tesla's sensitive microphones. "Yeah, I got something special today," Officer Reeves had said in the recording. "Brand new Tesla, two young guys who won't be able to prove it's theirs," the usual story. Malcolm shook his head as he added the clip to their evidence file. He didn't even bother checking if we were recording. Too busy assuming we were criminals to notice we're tech experts. The office door opened, and Lieutenant Waters' partner, Detective Rodriguez, walked in. She had just finished arresting Officer Reeves and came straight to collect the evidence. "You're not going to believe what we found in his phone," Detective Rodriguez said, pulling up a chair. "This isn't his first time. We found messages going back months, talking about other stolen cars." On the main screen, they watched as officers searched the warehouse. Behind some old boxes, they found papers with lists of stolen cars, dates, and prices. Officer Reeves had been part of this car theft ring for over a year. "There's more," Sarah said, pointing to her laptop screen. The Tesla recorded Officer Reeves talking to someone he called the boss while he was driving. He mentioned other officers who might be involved. Detective Rodriguez leaned forward, suddenly very interested. Internal Affairs had suspected there were corrupt officers helping steal cars, but they never had proof until now. The car's cameras also caught clear faces of everyone at the warehouse, Marcus added, pulling up crystal-clear images on his screen. The facial recognition system we installed matched two of them to other reported car thefts in the area. Meanwhile, at the warehouse, Officer Reeves was sitting in the back of a police car, watching his career and freedom slip away. The Tesla still sat there, silent but deadly to his plans, its cameras continuing to record everything. "You two could have a future in law enforcement," Detective Rodriguez joked, but her eyes were serious. "The way you handled this, staying calm and gathering evidence instead of escalating the situation." "We had good teachers," Malcolm replied, thinking of their mother and uncle. "And we know technology is the best witness. It doesn't lie, and it's not biased." Jessica, the news reporter, was preparing for her live broadcast outside the warehouse. The story was getting bigger by the minute. What started as a racist traffic stop had uncovered a major car theft operation involving corrupt police officers. Internal Affairs wants to know if you're willing to help with the bigger investigation. Detective Rodriguez said, "Your Tesla's security systems could help us catch more corrupt officers." The twins shared a quick look, having one of their silent conversations. Then Marcus smiled. "We can do better than that. We're already working on a new security system that could protect all cars from theft, even if the thieves wear badges." On the screen behind them, they could see Officer Reeves hanging his head in the police car, finally understanding how completely he had failed. He had thought he was targeting two young black men who wouldn't fight back. Instead, he had walked right into a trap set by two brilliant tech entrepreneurs who knew exactly how to catch him. And this was just the beginning of his problems. Inside the police station's interrogation room, Officer James Reeves sat alone, his badge and gun already surrendered. His police uniform, which had made him feel so powerful just hours ago, now felt like a costume he didn't deserve to wear. Through the one-way mirror, Marcus and Malcolm watched with Lieutenant Waters and their lawyer, Sarah. The twins had been invited to observe the interrogation because their evidence was the key to the whole case. "We found 5 more stolen cars in that warehouse," Lieutenant Waters told them quietly. "All of them taken during traffic stops, all of them belonging to minority owners." On the table in front of Reeves, Detective Rodriguez laid out pictures from the Tesla's cameras. Each image was perfectly clear, showing him talking with the car thieves, discussing prices, and planning how to sell the stolen Tesla. "Want to explain this?" Detective Rodriguez asked, her voice firm but calm. Reeves stared at the photos, his face growing pale. "I want my union lawyer," he mumbled, but his voice shook. He knew these pictures were just the beginning. Malcolm touched his phone screen, and suddenly, Reeves's voice filled the interrogation room. "Yeah, I got something special today. Brand new Tesla, 2 young guys who won't be able to prove it's theirs. The usual story." Reeves jumped in his chair. He hadn't known the Tesla was recording his phone calls. "That's not all," Detective Rodriguez said, playing another clip. This time, it was Reeves talking to someone he called the boss, discussing other officers involved in the theft ring. In the observation room, Marcus was working on his laptop. "I've mapped out all the traffic stops where cars went missing in the last year," he told Lieutenant Waters. "There's a clear pattern. Same areas, same type of targets, same time of day." Sarah nodded, adding the map to their evidence file. "And we've identified 8 other officers mentioned in Officer Reeves's recorded conversations. They'd all worked the same shifts." Back in the interrogation room, Reeves was sweating heavily. "Look," he said suddenly, "maybe we can make a deal. Those tech guys, they're obviously smart. Maybe they drop the charges if..." "If what?" Detective Rodriguez asked sharply. "If you apologize, if you offer them money? Those tech guys just exposed a criminal organization operating inside our police department. They're not interested in deals." Through the glass, Malcolm and Marcus watched Reeves sink lower in his chair. They remembered how tall and intimidating he had seemed during the traffic stop. Now he looked small and scared. "His lawyer's here," Lieutenant Waters said, checking his phone. "But he's not going to like what he sees. The evidence is overwhelming." Sarah smiled. "When the DA sees all this, they'll probably offer Reeves a deal, but only if he helps take down the entire theft ring." In the interrogation room, Reeves had his head in his hands. On the table, his phone kept lighting up with messages from his fellow corrupt officers, all of them panicking as news of his arrest spread. "We got warrants ready for the other officers," Lieutenant Waters told the twins. "When we move on them, we'll need your Tesla's security system again. Would you help us?" Marcus and Malcolm shared another of their twin looks. They had turned a horrible situation into a chance to clean up the police department and protect other innocent people from corrupt officers. "We'll do better than that," Marcus said. "We're going to offer our security system to the whole department. Make it standard in all police vehicles. No more hiding bad behavior." Through the window, they watched as Reeves's lawyer entered the interrogation room. The lawyer took one look at the evidence on the table and his face fell. Everyone could see it in his eyes. He knew his client was finished. Officer James Reeves had started his day thinking he could easily steal from 2 young black men. Now he was about to lose everything: his job, his freedom, and his reputation, all because he chose the wrong victims on the wrong day. 1 week after the Tesla incident, Marcus and Malcolm sat in the district attorney's office, surrounded by stacks of evidence files. Their mother sat between them, holding both their hands as District Attorney Gloria Martinez explained what would happen next. "Thanks to your evidence, we've arrested 12 police officers involved in the car theft ring," DA Martinez said, spreading photos across her desk. "Officer Reeves agreed to cooperate once he saw how much proof we had against him." The twins' Tesla had started a chain reaction that nobody expected. After Reeves started talking, the whole criminal operation began falling apart like a house of cards. Officers were turning on each other, trying to make deals, each revealing more crimes than the last. "The FBI is involved now," Sarah, their lawyer, added. She pointed to a map on the wall showing similar car theft rings in other cities. "What you uncovered here in Atlanta was just one part of a bigger operation." Malcolm squeezed his mother's hand. "How many cars were stolen?" he asked quietly. DA Martinez checked her notes. "Over 200 in the past year, just in Atlanta. Most victims were young minority professionals who the corrupt officers thought wouldn't fight back or wouldn't be believed. But they didn't expect two tech geniuses with a smart car," their mother said proudly, her eyes shining with tears. Marcus opened his laptop to show everyone their newest project. On the screen was a simple app interface labeled Guardian Angel. "We're turning what happened to us into something positive," he explained. "We're creating an affordable security system that any car owner can install. It has all the features our Tesla had: cameras, GPS tracking, automatic cloud backup." The DA leaned forward, interested. "And it can't be turned off by someone trying to steal the car." Malcolm nodded. "Even if they disable the main system, a hidden backup keeps recording. We're also adding features to automatically alert police headquarters if an officer turns off their body camera during a traffic stop." Their mother wiped away a tear. "When you were little boys, I always told you to use your minds to help others. Look at you now, turning something bad into something good." Sarah started organizing papers on the desk. Officer Reeves's plea deal requires him to testify against everyone involved, including the higher-ups who organized the theft ring. He's looking at 15 years in prison minimum. "The police department wants to make changes," DA Martinez added. "They're asking for your help to install better oversight systems. Your story has opened a lot of eyes." Just then, Marcus's phone buzzed. It was a message from Jessica at Channel 5 News. The story had gone national, and major news networks wanted to interview the twins about their experience and their new security system. "People are calling you heroes," their mother said, but Malcolm shook his head. "We're not heroes," he said firmly. "We're just two guys who were ready when injustice came our way. The real heroes are people who face this kind of treatment every day without fancy cars or tech skills to protect them. That's why we're making Guardian Angel affordable," Marcus added. "No one should feel powerless during a traffic stop, no matter what kind of car they drive." DA Martinez stood up, extending her hand to the twins. "What you did here, it's going to help a lot of people, not just in Atlanta, but everywhere. Sometimes it takes one case, one moment, to start real change." As they left the DA's office, their phones kept buzzing with messages. Other tech companies wanted to partner with them. Civil rights organizations wanted their help. Police departments from other cities were asking about their oversight systems. Their mother looked at her sons as they walked to their Tesla, which now symbolized not just their success, but their commitment to justice. "You know what this means?" she asked them. "Your work is just beginning." The twins smiled, already thinking about all the ways they could use their skills to protect others. What started as one corrupt officer's biggest mistake had become the catalyst for real change, not just in Atlanta, but across the country. 6 months after the Tesla incident, the Johnson twins stood on stage at a major tech conference in Silicon Valley. The huge screen behind them showed their new app, Guardian Angel, which had already helped stop 15 attempted car thefts across the country. "What happened to us that day could have ended differently," Marcus told the packed audience. "We could have gotten angry. We could have fought back. Instead, we let technology tell the truth for us." In the front row, their mother beamed with pride. Next to her sat Lieutenant Waters and Detective Rodriguez, who had flown in from Atlanta to support them. The police officers who had once been called to arrest the twins were now their strongest allies in fighting corruption. Malcolm clicked to the next slide, showing statistics. In just 6 months, over 50,000 cars have been fitted with Guardian Angel. 23 corrupt officers have been caught trying to steal vehicles. But more importantly, complaints about unfair traffic stops have dropped by 60% in cities using our system. The audience broke into applause. Among them were several car company executives who had already signed deals to make Guardian Angel a standard feature in their new vehicles. After the presentation, a young black teenager approached the twins backstage. "My sister had her car stolen during a traffic stop last year," he said. "The police didn't believe her. If she'd had your system." Marcus put a hand on the boy's shoulder. "That's why we made it affordable. $10 a month can save someone's car, or maybe even their life." Later that evening, in their hotel room, the twins watched the news. Officer Reeves's trial had ended that day in Atlanta. He had been sentenced to 18 years in prison, and his testimony had helped convict 15 other corrupt officers. The car theft ring was completely destroyed. "Remember when we just wanted to help small businesses with their accounting?" Malcolm laughed, looking at their original SmartBooks app on his phone. Marcus smiled. "Mom always said our success would come with responsibility. I don't think this is what she meant, but look what we've done." Their phones buzzed with a news alert. Another police department, this time in Chicago, had announced they were installing Guardian Angel in all their patrol cars. It was part of a new transparency initiative sparked by the twins' story. "The best part," Malcolm said, reading the article, "is that good cops love our system. It protects them too. Shows when they're doing the right thing, backs up their side of the story." A text message came in from Sarah, their lawyer. The civil rights organization they started with their settlement money had just helped another victim of police corruption win their case. The proof had come from a Guardian Angel-equipped car. "Officer Reeves thought he was ruining our lives that day," Marcus said, looking out the hotel window at the San Francisco skyline. "Instead, he gave us a bigger purpose." Their mother called, as she did every evening. "I saw your speech online," she said. "Your father would have been so proud." Their dad had died during a traffic stop when they were just kids. One of the reasons they had stayed so calm during their own encounter. "We're not done yet," Malcolm told her. "Next month we're launching a new feature that helps people record any interaction with authorities. Not just in cars, but anywhere." "My brave, smart boys," their mother said softly. "You took something ugly and made it beautiful." After saying goodnight to their mom, the twins looked at their busy schedule for the next day. Meetings with investors, interviews with tech magazines, and a session with a group of teenage coding students they were mentoring. Their Tesla sat safely in the hotel parking garage, no longer just a luxury car but a symbol of how technology could protect people's rights. Its cameras were always watching, its systems always ready, just like thousands of other cars now equipped with Guardian Angel. Marcus and Malcolm Johnson had turned a moment of prejudice into a movement for justice. Their story wasn't just about two successful black men standing up to a corrupt cop. It was about using their skills to make sure nobody else would have to face that situation alone.